Hi y'all, welcome back to my shop for another 4-Ways collaboration video. Today's project is brought to us by Thomas Loff. It's an eyeglasses holder. I made mine because for my safety glasses in my shop because I'm always setting them down at a different place, so maybe this will help me keep up with them. So as always for a video I do a little research. I didn't find a whole lot on wood turning glasses stand or keepers, but I came up with a couple of options, and I made some prototypes to see what I would like. This one was a kind of a nice looking design. I thought originally it was set where it would just slide on, but turns out that's got to be pretty small, and it can work, but it starts opening up. So something like this really needs a notch in it, and you can tell the base is not stable. So one of the things I discovered for the base is it probably ought to be, this is about 1 3/4 inches, so is this one. The base ought to probably be 2.5 inches across to make it stable. This cute little guy I thought was an interesting design. My wife likes this one the best. She says that's the kind of model I should choose. Again, the base needs to be bigger across than this that's flat, or it really won't be stable. Any of these that you make, you're going to have to somewhat custom make it for your glasses, because what will work fine for eyeglasses in this case might not work on reader glasses. Certainly won't necessarily work on safety glasses, where you might need a wider slot or a deeper slot. So keep all that in mind, and use some different wood maybe for a prototype. Now when it comes to wood, I generally, for a project like this, I want dry wood, but I used green wood for this prototype, and actually green wood for this poplar prototype, and I wasn't concerned about the cracking that was likely going to develop on this piece of cherry, because it was going to wind up being a throwaway. So I'm going to choose this dry piece of ornamental cherry that I've had in my shop for some time. The width of it is fairly big across. It's 3 1/8 inch, so I think I could still taper the base and make it fairly broad across. I need to take the bandsaw and chop it down a little bit. Now, if you don't have big chunks of dry wood like this, there's other options. You could model something similar to this stand for my tower top, where you use 2 pieces. That didn't work. Okay, back to that another time. But you could use 2 pieces. You could use a maybe 3/4 inch cross grain for the base. You could even leave it square if you wanted, and then a smaller dried piece for the stand, and that's another option if you don't have big dried pieces of wood. Length of wood depends on your design. Mine's going to be 5.5 inches, so I'm just going to cut off this waste, save this later for a box or something, because this has been in my shop for about 10 years, bone dry. And I'm using my little V block as kind of a miter sled. Lots of ways to mark centers, but for a block where I don't want to lose anything, I find my little center finder gauge, and then I just kind of pick a circle that will touch on every corner or overlap just a tiny bit to get it centered, and that works for me. So we turn it around between centers, exit to the right level. I'm using a spindle roughing gouge for this task. Just get it round. I'll be mounting this in my 75mm bowl jaws because I want a little larger tenon for because I'm going to be turning a little further away than typical without tailstock support. So that's what I'm using, and I've got a template to size it with. This is a dovetail, so I'm going to just slightly incline my beating and parting tool to get a dovetail tenon. Now later, after I turn the shape, I'm going to cut a slot in here for my glasses, and you can see different size slots. We can talk a little bit more about that later, but in this case the slot needed to be, because of the size of the head, the slot needed to be a little bit far forward. Unfortunately, that made the face you know, a little shorter than the face. In this particular case, I think I'm going to make this for my safety glasses. So in this case, it's almost as if I need to make a bigger slot than this one, and I can have it toward the back. All depends on your glasses, but you got to keep that factor in mind that you might need to make a smaller head in order that you can get that slot a little bit further back. And the slot for regular glasses may not need to be very thick. It could be even a quarter-inch might be plenty. For others, it might need to be, for something like safety glasses, it might have to be more like 3/8 of an inch or even a ½ inch. So I'm going to eventually part off the base down here, just a little ways from the chuck face, using thin parting tool. Keeping with the general design concept of rule of thirds, 1/3, 2/3, I'm going to measure this in millimeter. It's a little over 125, so that means the head is going to be just about 41, 42 millimeter. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that. And then when it comes to the base of this guy, the widest part of the base I want to be at about 1/3 from the bottom, so I'll keep that in mind. All right, let's go ahead and mark that. So that's 85, almost 90, so a little over 30. So that's going to be the thickest part of the base right there. I think that's about right. No, a little bit lower. Okay, got a tiny little divot I'll have to clean up at the end. I'll have to keep that in mind, but because it's there, I'm going to go ahead and bring up tailstock support. I'm going to use a 90 millimeter cone so it won't make that hole in it. I'm going to get pretty aggressive on this cut right here by taking it down. And I think I'm going to start that with maybe making a big V-cut right here. I think my skew could be sharper, so let me go touch that up. Just brace it against the tool rest here and find that bevel angle. Just swirl it around a little bit, both sides. I do this several times before I take it back to the grinder. Again, keeping in line with the 1/3, 2/3 rule, you know, I want the head to be about 2/3 of the body because I think that's a pleasing shape. So in this case, I measure this to be about 75 millimeters, so 2/3 of that's going to be about 50 millimeters, so I'm going to calibrate this to 50 millimeters, or 2 inches. And that'll get me close. So now let's go ahead and take this down quickly, and I'll use a skew to take a planing cut for that. Just anchor the tool, ride the bevel, get a cut. I find the safest way to use these is to pull it off, not push it on, but I'm not going to get carried away. Hard dried cherry. Okay, that's pretty close. Now I'm going to start rounding this over, and I'm going to switch to a spindle gouge because it's just a little simpler for me to make a bead with a spindle gouge. I don't know about y'all. So let's mark the center so I don't get it too uneven. So that's about visually about halfway, and that's the thickest part. So just make it a large bead. Ride the bevel, lift the handle. Twist around. switch the other side to kind of keep them in balance. Switch to a smaller gouge to round over this. Switch to a 3/8 inch. Let's get this around a little bit. I do want the head to be round. Pick up the cut. Give that tailstock support, you get a little bit of vibration. Need to make it a little bit more. Oh, wrong. Okay, that looks pretty good. I think I can handle that. I'm going to go back to cleaning up this V a little bit. Okay, that looks nice and clean. Because I'm pressing hard, and maybe the tool needs sharpening, I'm getting a little bit of chatter mark here, so I've got to clean that up. So I think what I want to do is bring up tailstock support to stabilize it a little bit, go a little bit slower with my feed rate, and then sharpen my tool. I'm going to switch to a skew that's a little bit thinner. I think it's a little easier for me to get in there with. Let's go ahead and lower the tool rest. Make the tool right at double. Lower the feed rate. And that cleared it up. Now I just got to clean up that V just a little bit here. Because this wood has very prominent grain, I've got to make a decision. Do I want the stripes to be running down the front, or do I want circles? And what the heck, I think I'll go with circles. So I mark the center with my birdcage awl. Drilling the hole size is not really critical. You can make it a 1/4 inch. I'm going to go for something a little larger, 3/8 maybe. Forstner bit, a little less likely to shred the edge. Okay, this is a prototype nose I just rough turned. I feel like it's a little large. This is the one that actually fit in the prototype. The other one was a little too large for it. I think that size is about right. Obviously, when I turn it, I need to make this match the hole of about 3/8 inch. Also, I think contrasting wood would be good. So I'm going to use this for my safety glasses, giving me a place so I don't have to look all over the shop for them. So it's going to go down the center of a head, maybe a little over a 1/4 inch, 3/8 of an inch slot. Now, like making a box, some projects are very sequential, and this is one of them. I don't want to part it off before I cut that slot because this will help hold it. I'm going to cut this on the bandsaw, and I've got a trick for doing that, so let me show you how that works. I don't use this jig very often, but I made it for just this purpose, where I could cut something while it's securely mounted on the chuck. Usually I use the jaws that are shorter than this, so it sticks out a little bit, so I've got to be kind of careful with the support. I've marked a slot. I need to bring it around a little bit better so I can see it. I'm leaving this loose nose in here parallel so I can help twist this and line it up. And I'm going to go in there just a little deeper than a bandsaw width. Okay, straight in. I think I'll go ahead and line up. check it with my shop glasses, and I feel like that's pretty close to what I'm looking for. You could probably go on a 1/4 inch deeper. Now you can clean up the inside. If you've got a rasp, you might want to clean up the bottom with a rasp, but otherwise, you know, the saw did a pretty good job on the sides. They're fairly smooth, but put sandpaper around a dowel or a flat piece of wood and just, you know, clean up the inside a little bit. Now we got to cut the slot. I'm going to go ahead and part this off, and then we'll start working on the nose. Again, using a thin parting tool. Slow it down a little bit. Got it 2600. I generally part off somewhere close to 1000. And then I've opened this slot up a little bit, so hopefully that's fine. And I just kind of fishtail it back and forth. I'd rather try to catch this or chase it around my shop. I'm going to cut it off with a thin flush cut saw. And I'll take that over to the belt sander and flatten it up a little bit. Okay, get you a square scrap of whatever wood you want for the nose, appropriate for the jaws that you've got. And the first thing we're going to do is turn it around. I'm going to make the nose very similar to my first prototype. It's about 15 millimeters in diameter, a little over 1/2 inch. So I just round it on the lathe. Let's mark how long this needs to be. Which end comes first doesn't much matter. I usually like to make this end the tenon so then I can trial fit it, but I can use calipers and get it pretty close. Okay, so start that taper. And almost. Alright, I sand up to about 400. And then I'm going to part it off. Give yourself plenty of room there. You don't tear those fibers. Okay. Just need to sand the tip of that a little bit and we'll be ready. Okay, to add a bit of whimsy, I'm going to dye the nose with some red dye. This is from Chromacraft. I like it. It's got a little bit of shellac in it. It dries quick. Oh, I like that. This is blood red. Okay, looks good. Put eyes on this guy. I marked him, and I'm just going to very carefully mark him with my birdcage awl. And then I'm going to drill a hole. I'm going to use map pins for the eyes. I bought a pack of these. These make great little eyes for any number of little whimsical animals and bird projects. So I'm going to use this tiny little pin drill and just put it in there and drill the holes, those pins. Pins are probably 1/2 inch long, so you got to drill a hole pretty deep. If you get tired of drilling, just nip off a little bit of the end of it with a pair of pliers. And then just put in a drop of medium CA and you'll be good to go. before I glue it in, I'm going to go ahead and put some finish of Minwax polish on it. Yeah, and it adds a certain amount of whimsy to it. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Make it easier for YouTube to push it out to other wood turners. I'm curious to see what the other projects look like for my collaboration partners, and I'm sure you do too. I've got their links in the show notes to Richard Raffin, Sam Angelo, and Tomislav Tomasic on the same project. Your comments are important to me, so leave those below. And remember, y'all stay safe. Come on back, you hear?